What is going on, Amazon sellers? Happy first Sunday of Q4. Hope that everyone is doing well. Welcome back to the weekly Amazon Q&A show where we share some e-commerce news, some stats, the occasional business maxim, and of course, we're here to answer your questions and try to help you grow your Amazon business. So if you've got a query about retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, or perhaps you just have a Keepa quandary, well, drop it in the chat and we are here to serve. For those of you who might be new here, I'm Chris Grant, and to my right is my consubstantial co-host, Chris Rasick. Chris, how's Sunday treating you, man?
Aside from the Yankees getting boat raced currently, it's not too bad overall. Hey, did you happen to see the hustle email today? On
no,
berries? Yeah.
It's, yes, on berry. Yes, I did. Yeah, that was a little crazy. I don't recall the stats, but that was nuts.
Well, it wasn't quite nuts. It was fruits, but
that's true.
I was shocked at especially that graph in the middle of it. I mean, like without knowing. I mean, you've seen it, but like without knowing anything, I mean, I would have thought apples and bananas 1 and 2 in the produce charts, right? As far as annual sales or however you would look at it. But for bananas to fall in, were they 5th place? I want to say behind melons. Like, I don't know anyone that buys melons on a regular basis.
I mean, nobody in real life does. People buy watermelons in the summer and that's it. Nobody is actually buying honeydew on a regular basis because that's a garbage fruit.
Ooh, hot take on the honeydew. All right.
Right. Cantaloupe is right up there. Cantaloupe can go right in the trash.
Really? Sushi guy has a problem with cantaloupe and honeydew. All right.
Yes, sir.
This is our common ground is diverged over the last couple shows. That's all right though.
It is surprising though. The apples being as low as they were. I mean, 12.6 billion on berries is insane. Now, was that just counting fresh? Yeah, that was just fresh fruit. I'd love to, because in my house, I tend to buy the frozen strawberries, the frozen blueberries, the frozen berry mix. That way it doesn't go bad. And sure, it is not as good, but I wonder if you lump all those in there, what the actual number really is.
Yeah. It was very curious. I mean, if we buy berries, most of the time it's going to be the bag of frozen because you're exactly right. It keeps longer, and if you remember, if it doesn't get buried in the back of the freezer or something like that. But watermelon, we'll make a big time watermelon run, maybe a strawberry run during the warm weather here. But I mean, apples and bananas are kind of on the regular list. So, and I understand it's a price issue, like unit count, probably number of purchases may shake out to closer to what I expected, but
true. Let me ask you this. Let's talk about the redheaded stepchild of fruits, fresh pears. What are your thoughts on pears?
I don't know. I mean, they come in a can. That's they're just halved and they're in light syrup or heavy syrup, and that's I don't know if I've ever it's almost like the full trash can that my wife will yell at me about. I just don't see it. I think I walk by it and it's just like they're pears. They're just never in the mix for us.
It's another fruit I think should go right in the trash.
Really?
They're grainy and it's like, sweet sand. It's gross.
Sweet sand. All right.
All right.
All right.
Let's answer some of your guys' questions. Carlos, we're happy to do these. Gives us a opportunity to get out our weird twice a week to people who for some reason want to come listen to us blather on. Um, we of course we've got a couple of pieces of news, but we have promised that we're going to try to get to questions a whole lot earlier these days. So let's start with the first one. Jerry, since Amazon has changed the process for customer feedback, I've yet to receive a single feedback in the past 30 days, leaving me at 0% for that period. Should I be concerned? Uh, no, I don't think so. I mean, as long as, and I see here that you said your sales haven't dropped. I wouldn't really worry about it. I kind of have a feeling that Amazon is doing this twofold. One, they want to they I think they are trying to make it the less friction for the consumer to leave a feedback if they want to. But on the other hand, I've got this feeling that they don't necessarily want customers leaving a bunch of seller feedback. Uh, I mean, because they probably know that it's typically more negative and they're probably striking through a lot of them. I know out of my last 5 or 6, I think 3 of them are struck through. And they're things that I did not do wrong. They're things that was on Amazon side, like, shipping a Funko in a poly bag. Even though we put pop protectors on them, like, Amazon shouldn't do that, and they're trying to save money on logistics. So I would imagine they're probably not pushing it as hard. That's just my opinion. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I what I think is customers have no idea what feedback is what. I mean, if you go back through, when's the last time you actually what is seller feedback to? And I know Jerry does a lot of FBM, right? So that's a different story. If you're fulfilling it yourself, maybe just as maybe he's just heavy FBM in Q4. I don't remember, but from an FBA perspective, what seller feedback could you possibly give? I mean, there's stuff that gets struck through that technically probably is the fault of the seller, because I know, if you sell a single unit on a 3-pack, it's probably the seller's fault that you didn't notice the listing, or, at best, the listing itself was pretty murky, and probably changed over time. So, but those will get struck through, So, I mean, as far as FBA, there is right or wrong. There's no viable seller feedback to be given, and we see customers all the time just leaving feedback wherever. They can't discern between seller feedback and then product reviews even, so
Yeah.
I would imagine it's Amazon. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Amazon saw it as redundant and wanted to streamline things a little bit.
I would agree with that.
But from, Jerry, if your sales aren't struggling at all, I'd imagine since Amazon made this change, anything that might have been tied to seller performance, if there was anything, it was probably disabled. Might be putting a little bit too much faith in Amazon using common sense, but yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine it would affect sales in any way.
Yeah, I don't see it either. And Jason, yeah, FBM shoe sellers might get it the worst. I totally understand that. And crypto, yeah, negative FBM seller feedback is very difficult to get removed, even if it's a product review. And if it is legitimately a product review, I would fight those tooth and nail. But Amazon is a whole lot less friendly about removing FBM seller feedback than they once were, unfortunately. So, all right. We will get to your guys' questions. I know that there are some more coming in, but we've got a couple of pieces of news. And the first one, Chris, I see you've got some here. We've actually got some overlaps. I just didn't have time to put them in the sheet. But the first one I wanted to talk about is Amazon continues to try to make things easier for the customer, which is good for us, in my opinion. On Thursday, Amazon announced a new feature called a single tap add to delivery feature for Prime members. And it will just allow you to quickly add eligible products to existing upcoming deliveries. And in my opinion, this is kind of the logical next step in Amazon's flywheel distribution model, uh, because they are trying to make it so that items that are closest to the customer are the ones that are going to them to reduce their logistics cost. But at the same time, if they can properly have inventory spread out, they can reduce the friction to add in another item. Now, did they get this idea from, let's say Walmart Plus, where you can add a grocery item for the next 15 hours and 20 minutes, depending on when your delivery is? I have no idea. But if they did steal this idea from them, good on them. Because any way to get the average order value up while only shipping once is going to further reduce costs and hopefully lengthen the amount of time in between now and the next fee increase for Amazon sellers. They said that they said that customers can also reverse the addition by using an undo option, which will remove that item immediately. So they're really trying to, I don't know, it kind of seems like they're trying to use just-in-time delivery for customers with this flywheel distribution model. And Amazon thinks it's going to be incredibly popular. Matter of fact, the video that they launched about this has been watched over 50 million times already. So this is something that I think is going to be really, really popular.
So do we have any idea of how it'll be executed? Is it you place your order and you get an email later, or is it somewhere in the checkout page?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. And I didn't look fast enough when we made an Amazon order the other day. I should have.
Yeah, because that's yeah. I mean, I agree. Any way to increase the average ticket is a good thing. And I imagine you said it fits into the flywheel. I assume the suggestions are probably inventory based close to the delivery that's coming already, right?
That would be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense. It's Amazon. They need to take advantage. I mean, they put all this work. They invested, billions of dollars into their fulfillment center, or fulfillment operations, I should say, every year. So they absolutely should take advantage of, getting a couple extra units in the average order. Be interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah. I foresee this as Amazon's version of the, those items at the checkout line that they try to get you to buy. What are those magazines?
The
Lady has
Inquirer
a
and
Bat Baby,
Star.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, it could be some pricier stuff. I'll be curious to see how the algorithm figure, is it looking at the stuff you've ordered? Is it looking at your order history real quick and kind of putting that together? And yeah, it'll be really interesting.
Yeah. Maybe I'll order something tonight and just see what it does. I'm sure I could find something on Amazon I'd like to have. Shane, hey guys, got a 5885 when adding a product. I can't remember what to do. Anything I can do. If I'm not mistaken, the 5885 error is one of those hidden generic errors, I believe. So I don't think that there's anything you're going to be able to do. If you already have the inventory, you're probably going to need to sell it on another platform. If you haven't purchased the inventory, I would just pass on it because you're probably not going to be able to get that fixed. Carlos, have you put out the seasonal KPF video yet? If you mean for OAC Plus, yes, you should find that in the replays channel under OAC Plus, and that is what we talked about this past Thursday during our weekly office hours or weekly coaching call. So yeah, that one is up and ready to be watched. All right. Next piece of news. This one is this is the one we had overlapped on. Amazon's really going after grocery, and I kind of like watching this in unfold in real time. So Amazon is sort of launching a new private label grocery brand. Really, what they're doing is they're taking their Happy Belly and their Amazon Fresh and then adding some other items into something they're calling Amazon Grocery. Very original. And they're going to be aiming these private label items at price conscious shoppers. Most of the products are going to be priced under $5. And Amazon says that's going to be more than 1,000 items, ranging from meat and fresh produce to snacks and dairy. This just makes sense because there has been a serious growth of private label sales, especially in the grocery category, because people are looking for ways to save money. And with Amazon doing this, along with offering 1,000 cities same day delivery for grocery items, and hopefully, I think they said 2,500 cities by the end of the year, like Amazon is they're going to do some serious damage to Walmart, in my opinion. If I'll be honest, I know that you have a Walmart Plus. I have a Walmart Plus too. I got it because I got it 50% off for the year. But if Amazon could give me the breadth of catalog for grocery that Walmart has at similar prices, I would switch in a heartbeat. Like it would be over. And I don't mind waiting a day. That's what I have to do with Walmart Plus. I've got to wait until my in-home delivery day, which is the next day. And if Amazon can do that same day or even next day, I would switch immediately. And I would imagine there are going to be a lot of other people who would do the same, not because, they want to shop Amazon over Walmart for groceries or anything like that. But the fact is that Amazon has a much broader catalog. And if people want to do their grocery shopping of stuff that they can get delivered, but then also find that obscure bathroom cleaner or hair product, they're going to be able to do it on Amazon. And the way that Walmart's going, basically, locking everything up from third-party sellers to be able to offer on the platform, they're going to kick Walmart's ass if they're not careful.
Yeah. This is it's essentially the in-store Walmart experience online.
Mm-hmm.
That's I still remember. Luke will have no idea who the president was at the time, but I still remember the first time I went into Walmart for the first time, and I was blown away, right, because of the variance of what you can get. It essentially was one-stop shopping plus who knows what else. It was just I could get everything on my list, and it was basically covering the ground of multiple stores at the same time simply because there was such a collection. So that experience moved online. If Amazon can get the refrigerated, get the fresh food, if they can get that nailed down, it'll be really dangerous. And think about, I was already of the opinion that pretty soon some of the corporate reporting for Walmart is probably going to take a hit.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that the fiasco with third-party sellers. I can't believe that that's not going to be reflected in earnings reports at some point in time. So if you couple that with Amazon starting to grab more of the grocery, which is basically the only big lead that Walmart had over Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if Amazon's able to actually kind of creep into that market, Walmart stockholders may be a little sweaty come earnings time.
Yeah. I wonder if the whole grocery put is it Amazon really trying to take some market share from Walmart, or did some CEO, some senior executive at Amazon read that $12 billion of fresh berries sold every year and just was like, oh, we got to get a piece of that.
You know, I imagine I can't imagine the board meetings at Amazon. You know, I mean, there's so few frontiers left.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least the frontiers that are left for Amazon to conquer. Most of them outside of grocery are like emerging tech. You know, so there's no protocols. You know, there's no historical data on this kind of stuff. You know, they just kind of have to, sink money into R&D and kind of try to come up with stuff that's popular, except for grocery. You know, that's tried and true, and the numbers are ironclad, as far as demand. So, I'd imagine that's probably what they're doing, simply because they're running out of new frontiers.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's answer a couple more questions here. Deal Hunter, I found a product on sale. The item is the same as the one listed on Amazon, but somehow the UPC is different. Is it safe to sell it since I'm covering the UPC anyway with the FN SKU? My opinion is that in most cases, yes, I would probably go ahead and sell. UPC is typically one of the last things that I check. And it's only if I'm like, oh, well, this looks exactly the same, but maybe a model number is like one number off or something. And then I'll go to the UPC and I'm like, well, is the UPC the same? And the reason that is that over the years, Amazon was not always very, they were not always enforcing the rules about UPCs. And for a very, very long time, people could just throw in whatever they wanted. And the first time I ever really learned this is when one summer I did a bit of a sourcing challenge with some friends, and we all bet $100 who could take $100 to start with and turn that into the most money in the end of 2 months. Okay, so you had 60 days. And so what I did is everyone else decided to go wide. I decided to go deep. I found one particular product at Walgreens that was absolutely selling the lights out. It was a Funko Pop, Walgreens exclusive. And for the first 30 days, whenever I would go into Walgreens, I had a habit of rescanning it in the seller app, and it would pop up by the UPC, and I would double check the numbers, make sure that it still made sense. And it did until about 30 days in. And then all of a sudden, it no longer showed up when you scanned the UPC. And someone went in and purposely changed the UPC so that you could not find it that way. And you could only find it by the title. And that was just a very, very common tactic for years, probably for almost 10 years. So UPC is one of those things that I typically just don't pay a whole lot of attention to.
Yeah, it's basically a last ditch effort to be sure. If I'm a little bit confused, if I'm not 100% on something, that's when I'll look at the UPC and hope that it possibly changes. But yeah, you're right. The Amazon gives too much freedom on listing creation to use the UPC as gospel. It could not only is you have the strategic I don't know, ethically questionable tactics, of purposely changing the UPC. You have the factor of the person making the listing could fat finger one of the numbers and get it wrong. Frequently, we've seen that companies themselves will change the UPC. It'll be used as tracking for something, and I'm actually finding that sometimes the UPCs are different based on the region that stuff is sold in. I found it wasn't Lego, but it was one of those building sets for kids, and the UPCs were different. It was the same exact product, but one UPC. Sometimes the product comes as a piece in a set, but then the same product is also sold independently by itself. And those, it's the same exact item, but they have different model numbers and different UPCs based on essentially packaging and distribution. It's whether it's by itself or whether it's part of a set. So yeah, it's you'd think I came into selling on Amazon, thinking that the UPC was more powerful than it actually is. I'm kind of surprised. I had to kind of retrain myself and reprogram, just how strict the UPC listings are.
Mm-hmm. And a follow-up to this, Luke, are you guys checking to see if UPCs are branded correctly at GS1, or is that overkill if I'm not going deep? I think it's probably overkill. I've never checked even once at all. All right. We'll get to the rest of your guys' questions here in just a minute. I wanted to bring something up because I think I don't care to shop at this particular store. It's not my favorite thing to do. However, I love this store. And the store is Costco. I think that Costco is one of the best businesses in the entire country. And they just pulled a move that was genius. Costco is now going to allow their members to buy Ozempic and another GLP-1 drug called Wegovy at basically 50% of what the rest of the market charges. So you're going to be able to get Ozempic and Wegovy for $4.99, which is insane. Now, this is going to do, it's going to do one of a couple of things. One, it's going to make people even stickier to Costco because they're like, holy cow. I mean, even if they're not on Ozempic, like, wow, like that's what Costco does for its members. Because I would imagine that the, average consumers be like, wow, Costco wants to eat that cost for us, which they're not, I guarantee it. But, and then for the customers who do hop on it or are on that drug, they can save themselves $400 a month, $4,000 a year on a drug that they may be paying out of pocket for because it's only covered in like 13 states for obesity treatment, which is what most people are using it for. Yes, I know it's a drug for diabetics and stuff like that, but honestly, the off-label use is what's getting much, much more use. It's $499, Deal Hunter, $499, not $4.99. But normally this is something that's like $9.50 to $9.99 if you get it at a regular pharmacy. Outside of that, I would imagine that there are going to be a ton of people who have not become Costco members that do become Costco members. So one, in 5 years from now, how responsible will Costco be for the slimming of America? And two, what does the rest of the market do in response to this? Because, I mean, how long... I mean, who goes anywhere else if they're taking a GLP-1? Like, why go to Walgreens? Why go to CVS if they're not even going to try to be somewhat competitive in that space?
Yeah, I mean, it just so easily covers the membership to Costco, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean, the way I see this playing out is memberships are going to skyrocket. You're absolutely right. It's loyalty from existing members is only going to get stronger. And I don't want to set it too lofty, but what's the linchpin? Where's the tipping point on prescription drug reform? You know, you've got Amazon came into play, you know, trying to offer cheaper prescriptions. Mark Cuban has Cost Plus. You know, he's trying to make it more affordable for people to get the medications that they need. There was what's that other? There was another one they were even running commercials where you scanned it and they aggregated different prices for drugs. They've been around for years. That was probably the first one. Good RX, yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of. You know, so when you have a situation like this, it's Costco's a price tanker, right? You know, I mean, essentially, there's so much margin in there, and it just takes. I always say it just takes one cowboy to come in there and say, you know what, we could take a little bit less profit. We'll gain market share on that, and we can try to carve out some nice profits at a little bit of a smaller margin at the expense of the people that are gouging, for lack of a better word. I know it's a sensitive term in present company, but it's essentially what a lot of these companies are doing. You know, I dare I say, you know, $1,000 a month was probably not what they had in mind when they brought GLP-1s to market. You know, it was probably only after positive reception and you know, after it took on the celebrity that it has since it's been debuted.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah. I don't want to get political, but you are 100% right on prescription reform. Like it is, the prices here are insane. We could go down a whole rabbit trail about that, but all right, let's answer some more of your guys' questions here. Carlos, what would you say is a good average profit margin? So I always like to temper expectations when it comes to profit margins. And you know, there are going to be some people like, oh, well, you know, I get 20%, 30% profit margins. One, I'm not sure if those people know how to do math and know what a profit margin actually is. And two, at any kind of scale, 20 and 30% profit margins are almost unheard of, especially when you're a retailer. So let me temper expectations a little bit, and I'll tell you what the leading retailers in the country run. Walmart is running at about 2.4% net profit margin. Target is almost double that at around like 4.5 to 4.7% net profit margin. Now, their volumes are going to be a lot higher, and I actually don't know what Target's latest numbers are going to be due to the fact that they've had shrinking foot traffic like for the past 8 months in a row. So we'll see what that does in the next quarterly earnings. But those are what the leading retailers in the country do. Now, do I think that that is what you should do as an Amazon seller? No, I don't. I really think that you should be aiming for somewhere between 8 and 15% net profit margin in your business. And that should allow you to have some heavy reinvestment if you are looking to grow and have a little bit extra to pay yourself as well, because we do think you should pay yourself from day one here. And I think that would be pretty healthy, 8 to 15%. And then if you want to compare that to small businesses across the country, I mean, that would be right in line. Like most businesses consider a 10 to 12% profit margin to be pretty healthy. and anything above 8 is fine. So I guess that's my opinion. Somewhere between 8 and 15% net profit margin should be pretty solid after all the bills are paid.
Yeah, it's tough to answer in general terms, because the higher your sales volume is, the more acceptable a lower margin becomes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and everyone kind of has their own set of expenses too. I mean, what's a good profit margin? Are you running lean? Are you just running Keepa and Seller Amp and a pro, $40 a month Amazon seller account? That answer is probably different than somebody with a warehouse, half a dozen employees, VAs on the payroll, somebody like a Jeff Storch that has double-digit employees running the operation. They're going to be two very different answers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Elliot, is it worth buying 400 units to get ungated for human ingestibles on Amazon? This is a difficult question to answer anymore because the ungating process has gotten so much more difficult. Now I see Christy in the comments. Christy recently got ungated in a brand. She kept after it, kept submitting and got through. And I think that is a testament to what it takes today to get ungated in anything. It is just beating your head against a brick wall for as long as it takes. Now, the answer is, can you make money in human ingestibles? Well, I mean, that's the entire grocery category and a whole lot of the health and household category. So would your return on investment over time be in the positive? Most likely. Okay. But my question to you would be, if that is not where your focus is going to be, if you're not going to have a heavy focus on that particular category and you're growing without that particular category right now, why take that capital and tie it up into something that may take months to pan out, to get ungated, when maybe you could do just as fine in the sporting goods category or the tools and home improvement category, and not have to go and get ungated in that particular category?
Yeah, I think you have to ask yourself a couple questions, in order to come to the answer to this. First one's probably difficult. You kind of have to project how many units you can sell once you get ungated. You have to make sure that you have ample opportunities to source what you're going to spend the money on 400 units. Like go back to 2020 when I decided, which turned out to be a very good decision. I ungated grocery in 2020 with 10 units. Now I turned around and sold hundreds of units in grocery every single month. So the cost related to the 10 units to get ungated versus what I projected my revenue to be from that category, I mean, it's an astronomical ratio, right? So that you kind of got to do some forecasting, to determine if it's worth it. The other question you have to ask is, are we sure that it's going to be 400 units as a requirement next year? It feels like, and this is all speculation, it feels like the gating process is a little glitchy. That's for lack of a better word, I guess. But Amazon's been known to take knee-jerk reactions, to make knee-jerk reactions, I should say. And they usually walk those back. So I could easily see a scenario where it's 400 units right now. We get through Q4, and sometime in 2026, early in 2026, instead of 400, it goes down to like 100. You know what I mean? So I don't think the obstacles and the requirements now, I don't think a lot of them are going to hold up once Amazon walks some stuff back and kind of gets the gating process under better control.
Yeah, which I'm sure will absolutely happen. And Shannon, I wasn't 100% sure if there is like a human ingestible subcategory, but I can only answer the questions as they come. I would imagine it's just ingestibles overall. If there is a subcategory, I'd have to go look. I'm not even sure how to find that since I'm already ungated. All right, Chris by Chris. So for the leads in the Q4 group, I need 100 to 400 unit invoices to get ungated on most of the leads. I've been messaging the sites and the brand of the leads asking, can they do a wholesale order? Is that a good idea? It's never a bad idea. It's never a bad idea to see if you can get better pricing. It's never a bad idea to ask for a discount, because if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Now, you're probably going to get a lot of no's, so get used to that. There are a lot of, businesses and brands that don't want to do business with resellers. We've got a bad name, unfortunately, but it's not going to hurt anything either. Now, would I go and get ungated? No, we've only done 3 days worth of leads for Q4 so far. So it will get a little bit better over time as we broaden the number of places to source from, broaden the number of brands. So I'd give it some time. You're going to find a couple of brands that do really well for you. And then I would also start using those as rabbit trailheads. If product number one is something you're gated in, what are ancillary products to that? What are ancillary brands that sell the same things or similar items? And go down those rabbit trails to try to find those rather than trying to get ungated. I know that ungating is one of those things where everyone's like, I got to get ungated in all these different brands. But in reality, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to find the brands that auto ungate for you, and find the brands that are currently ungated for you and focus on those while you're in Amazon's, like Chris likes to call it, the sandbox, while they're kind of making sure that you're ready to be in the big leagues. And then things seem to get a little bit easier after a while for auto ungating.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. And I don't know if you'll know the answer, because I think you have the similar strategy to me. Nowadays, maybe it was different earlier in your selling career, but what's the scenario where getting ungated in a brand makes sense? Say let me set up the prompt AI style. You're coaching somebody, and I don't know if they're in the sandbox, maybe they're coming out of the sandbox, close to getting out of the sandbox or whatever. But if they came to you and they said, I want to get ungated in X, what would the setup be to where you as a coach goes, okay, I think you should do that. I agree. Because and here's why I ask, because I ungated Nike. It's probably going on 2 years ago now, close to it. And before that, I don't remember what I ungated. I never do it. Now I know there are scenarios, Nike was one, because, obviously there's outlet stores, and, there's multiple avenues, and so many different stores carry it, and they'll all have sales and stuff. And you could see a steady flow of Nike inventory that would make it worth your while. Right. But other than that, I always took the opinion of, I'm gated. Okay, it didn't auto ungate. I move on to the next lead. Even when I was in the sandbox, I just kept going until I could buy something. I'm not going to take my energy and my time and ungate something when I don't have, I mean, it's not like I'm keeping files on the stuff like, ooh, here's that brand again, let me add it to the list, and then once I hit a certain amount of ASINs, I go, okay, this is clearly worth it to go after this brand. So what scenario would make you as a coach go, yeah, I think that's a good idea?
So I think the scenario that would make sense for me is, does the seller have some sort of unusual advantage over other sellers? So I guess let's say, for example, that you've got an in at, I don't know, Bath and Body Works, and you're like, listen, I can buy Bath and Body Works for 15% over their cost because I am the nephew of the CEO or something like that. Then that I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you need to do whatever it takes to get ungated in that particular brand because you have an unlimited flow of products at a price that no one else can touch, even when the items are on sale. And then it would make sense, So if there was some unique advantage, I would say absolutely go for it. But if their unique advantage is, well, I know how to use coupon codes, then I would tell them that you should instead take your time, use something like the brute force ungating method that we've taught in the past, and go get ungated in 4,000 different brands that are a whole heck of a lot easier than this one brand that you just think is going to do well because people on social media all talk about it.
Okay, that's fair.
Jerry, not a plug, but tell us more about your upcoming 6-hour free sourcing camp. I don't want to say that last word because that would encroach on what someone else does. They run something like that, so that is not what it is. But Jerry, I appreciate you bringing this up. So if you're on my email list, you should have gotten an email this morning that, in my opinion, should be worth $10,000 or $20,000 to you. And that's not hyperbole. I'm not bloviating. Okay. That is the honest to God truth. If you watch that video and implement what's in it, you should be able to find $10,000 to $20,000 worth of inventory that can be sold on Amazon, that other people have overlooked, that the number of sellers has gone down, all kinds of stuff, all because Keepa dropped some new features. All right. So that's in your email if you haven't seen it. I'm going to send it out one more time. Now, that was my value. That was my jab if you're a Gary Vaynerchuk fan. Now, in that video, I have an ask. And that ask is, come check out OAC Plus. Okay. And here's why. Prime Big Deals Day is coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. And so we are going to run a sale on the OAC Plus community. You are going to be able to get a price for the OAC Plus community that is just a little bit higher than what the founding members pay. You're going to get a 40% discount in total for life. That is 40% off the sign-up fee. It is 40% off the monthly fee for OAC Plus. But on top of that, you're going to get a 4-day free trial, which no one has ever gotten. It's always been join or don't join. Well, you get a 4-day free trial to OAC Plus. Now, here's why we're doing this. Okay. For Prime Big Deals Week, there are going to be sales not only at Amazon, but there are going to be sales at Walmart and Target, and Staples just announced that they're running sales. And there are going to be sales at thousands of other stores trying to take advantage of this October sales holiday. So we're going to be doing something pretty cool. Number one, tomorrow night at 9 p.m., Chris does live sourcing. You will get access to see exactly how Chris's mind works. He is the Rain Man of storefront stalking, if you will. And you're going to be able to get into that mind for 90 minutes tomorrow night. Then on Tuesday, on Prime Big Deals Day, from 3 p.m. until at least 9 p.m., 6 full hours, I am going to be live sourcing that entire time. We're going to do manual sourcing. We're going to do reverse sourcing. We're going to do storefront stalking. We're going to be going over multiple ways to use the new KPF features that I've been thinking about all weekend long. We are going to have a multi 7-figure seller, Eli Glakowski, come in. We're going to source with him. And we're also going to talk about Q4 and how to best take advantage of it, including capital allocation, timelines, etc. We've got Dylan Carter of Aura coming in at 4 o'clock to discuss repricing in Q4 and how to do it, how to think about it. Chris is going to come in and we're going to do sourcing together. Luke Ewing is going to come in and we're going to do some sourcing with him as well. And I've got Saul of the Buy Box coming in, and we're going to do some Amazon to Amazon flips with him. So 6 hours of a source-a-thon, okay? But that's not all right? On top of that, over that 4-day free trial on Thursday, I do a live weekly coaching call where we do Q&A, and we dive really deep into people's troubles or issues. But this Thursday, I'm actually going to be redoing my rabbit trail challenge. So we're going to be talking all about rabbit trails, okay? And how to take one lead and turn it into 5. Because I was thinking about it the other day, and there are some new ways that we can rabbit trail, thanks to KPF, thanks to AI, and things that I just didn't think about when I created the rabbit trail challenge. So you get that as well. And during that 4-day free trial, you'll be able to access the community. You'll be able to go in and make friends. You'll be able to share your wins and see the wins from the people inside the community. One of the things I'm most proud of is we've had 5 people have to go through some sort of suspension so far that have all gotten back. We've got 2 more that are going through it right now. I know we'll get them back as well. And I walk everyone through those myself. Okay. You're going to be able to see all of the courses that are included. You'll be able to see Keepa Academy and OA Challenge replays and Wholesale Challenge replays and the credit card points and miles challenge replays and a couple more that I'm working on getting up there, which I just need to get done. You can also get 3 free days to Storefront Stalker Pro if you want, or 4 free days to Storefront Stalker Pro and make some money that way. You can make money off of the Amazon to Amazon flips leads that go into the Discord community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during some of the best time of the year, Prime Day, to be able to do Amazon to Amazon flips. You'll get access to all of that, unfettered, unrestricted access to all of OAC Plus over 4 days. And then after the 4 days, if you decide that you want to stick around, awesome. You get 40% off for life. And if you decide you want to part ways, well, we'll part ways as friends and it won't cost you a penny. And you'll see what we have to offer inside of OAC Plus. So all of that is in your email. There is a special link. There is a special code. And along with that email that I sent out this morning, there is at least $10,000 worth of value. You should be able to find $10,000 of inventory without a problem. Not in one day, but over the course of a week, a month, however long it takes you. It is incredibly powerful what they did. So if you want to know more, check your email. If not, if you didn't get that email, you're not on my email list, shoot me a message or hop on my email list over at cleartheshelf.com because I will be sending this out again tomorrow night. The email this morning was open rate wise. Sunday morning, probably a bad time to send it, but I'll send it again on Monday night, right before Chris goes live, so that you can hop in there if you're interested.
Yeah, of course I'm biased, right? I love the first version of the community that you made, and I love this version of the community since you brought it back. But look, let's be honest, right? This is about the widest appeal that you could make for the OAC Plus, and when I say that, the widest appeal is no matter what kind of seller you are, it's worth it to jump in and take the trial. I mean, if you're a new seller, and I'm just talking about the 4 days, right? Make your own decision. I think once you jump in 4 days, I think there's even if you half-ass it, you're going to make several $100s, even if you join and say the excitement kind of wanes and you got a bunch of other stuff going on and you're like, oh yeah, right. You're pumped up at first and then it just kind of faded away. You can dip in and out at your leisure in between everything else you got going on, make several $100s, and then bail after 4 days. Right.
Mhm.
So that's regardless of the type of seller that you are, even if you're doing a healthy amount already. If you're a new seller, there's no excuse not to take advantage of this if you're not already in the OAC Plus, right? I have said, I just said it, I think on last Monday's show, over-the-shoulder sourcing is the number one method of training that I wish I had received as a new seller, because there's no confirmation that you're doing things the right way. Right. So when you're able to look over the shoulder, see the screen of exactly what seasoned sellers are looking at, you get to pick out stuff that you do. So you get confirmation of the stuff you do right. You learn new things. You learn tactics that seasoned sellers are using that you can then fold into your own sourcing. And you get to see somebody who has been doing it and has proof of doing it properly, successfully, productively. You get to watch them for hours. I mean, that's such valuable information. The learning and the education and listening only goes so far. This is where the rubber meets the road, and that's the part of the training as a new seller that you just don't get a lot of. Mm-hmm. And you have a chance to get an hour on Monday night if you jump in soon enough, 6 hours on Tuesday. I mean, there's no excuse not to take advantage of this. Even if you don't stay, you'll make money. You'll be a better seller just in that short period of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt about it.
All right, let's answer a couple more questions here. So, Deal Hunter, Texas just added a new tax for eBay, Poshmark, and Etsy sellers. This new state tax is only in Texas for now, but I won't be surprised if other states adopt it. Is this a tax on the actual fees that are paid? Because I know that Washington also enacted a tax on fees for e-commerce sellers. And here's the thing. Could this be something that spreads? Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've never seen a government that doesn't like the taxes. So if they see a couple of other places doing it, sure. Why not? Another way we can stick it to some of our constituents without making everybody mad, because not everyone sells on the internet. And we also know that it's a growing number of dollars that are on the internet. So why not grab a little extra piece of those? However, Washington and Texas also are not the usual bellwethers for whether or not something spreads across the country. You talk California, you talk New York, and then things seem to spread pretty quickly just because of how many people are in those places. Now, my own personal opinion, is taxes suck. I don't care what kind of tax they are. Everyone should get as much money in their own pocket rather than it going to the government. So hopefully these don't. But is it possible? Maybe.
I don't see how this, unless they make some sort of exemption, or you're able to deduct something because you pay. I mean, I don't know how this doesn't end up as double taxation at some point in time, because if it's a tax on fee to the seller's already taxed on that revenue, so I mean, it feels like it would be balanced out on the books one way or another.
You would think. It does feel like double tax, but I mean, also I've never seen a government that doesn't really doesn't mind a little double taxation either. I mean, you pay income taxes, and then you pay sales tax on the stuff that you buy, and then you pay the death tax. They don't mind dipping their hand in whenever they can.
It's true.
All right, Polly. Do you tend to go to Amazon first and press the Google search from there, or do you tend to start with an online site that's having a sale and then look at it on Amazon? I am fairly agnostic. If I know that a great sale is happening. So there was a site that I can no longer order from, unfortunately. Got to pour one out for this site. When this site had a sale, and typically their crazy sales would be getting emailed out about now, in the evenings. I would spend all the time on that site, and I would be going and searching for the matches on Amazon. And typically this particular site would have multiple matches. So we'd go as deep as we could, or as deep as made sense. But I also like to storefront stock. And when we do that, we're really starting with Amazon and then doing a Google search. So if the sale makes sense, then I'm all about spending as much time on that site, especially if it's a place where I know that I can make multiple orders or big orders or something like that. And if I'm going really wide, I'm probably going the other direction and just trying to find whatever site makes sense.
Yeah, I'm almost 100% reverse sourcing now. And Polly, that's essentially what you're asking is do you, is it forward sourcing, like store-based sourcing to find it on the Amazon catalog, or reverse sourcing, which would be sourcing from the Amazon catalog out into the retail landscape. I started out doing a lot of store first, and I would, same thing. I'd look for sales, or I'd find a coupon code or something like that, site-wide code, and then I'd scour that site to see what was profitable on Amazon. Over time, I switched, and I'm probably about 99% reverse sourcing. I'll start on the Amazon catalog, because I think I don't have numbers to back this up, but it feels like the percentages are higher starting on the Amazon catalog, because you can define where you start, right? You can specifically find high velocity stuff, or you can specifically find the price range you want to sell in. And then you can actually find products that other sellers have found, and basically they confirmed it for you, right? You don't know what their buy price was, or their buy cost, but you can try to get a profitable buy cost and try to find it, out on the web. So it seems like there's more validation starting on the Amazon catalog and reverse sourcing from there, and certainly a lot more control. So I find the time spent is more fruitful starting on the Amazon catalog, if that makes sense.
Jerry, it's possible I was wrong about the state of Washington. Not wrong on the state of Texas, though. I shared a link to the state of Texas. I know that there is, we reported on it. Actually, there it is right there. It is Washington. Washington is thinking about it. We got to remember ChatGPT does not able to go and scrape news websites in real time for the most part. All right, let's see here. Oh, Luke, Sam's Club is better. Interesting. You like eggnog, sir. So
yeah, you'd almost think that he's like just intentionally trying to be contrarian.
It seems that way, you know. He likes eggnog. He likes candy corn. He thought Ronald Reagan was Kennedy. I mean,
he has no idea. Cannot recognize anyone that was born before him. Just I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, if you grew up in an underground bunker and never experienced the outside world until, I'm guessing it must have been in his 20s at some point in time. He's pushing 40 now, but you know, it was probably in his 20s or somewhere where they opened the airlock and came out of the underground bomb shelter that he spent the first couple decades of his life. I guess you can't really figure out where, you know, maybe maybe he knew somebody, maybe somebody in one of the books that he read as he was coloring in the underground bunker. Maybe there was a Sam and he goes, oh, I didn't know Sam had a club. And maybe that just happened to be the first warehouse store that he walked into. So it could be a sentimentality thing.
Yeah. Luke, I appreciate you being a good sport, man. And you're right. That was not fair. I was trying to discredit the arguer rather than the argument. I will be honest. I am probably a fan. I am a fan of Sam Walton. I think the guy is a great businessman. But I am also just a big fan of Jim Sinegal, the founder of Costco, and the way that Costco came about. Costco is actually a play on another membership based store called FedMart. That was founded by Sol Price. Sol Price may be the greatest retailer who ever lived, and how Jim Sinegal learned everything from him, and the story of what Jim Sinegal did when someone suggested that they raise the price of the hot dog is just one of my favorites of all time. You know, when one of the executives said, you know, we should probably raise the price of the hot dog, he looked at him and he said, I will effing murder you. Word for word, what he said to him. And instead, they vertically integrated the supply chain for hot dogs at Costco and brought the prices down. And so it's just a fascinating guy.
And just the cheap hot dog too. You know, I mean, we've talked about that before on previous shows. You know, they calculate something called the dwell time.
Mm-hmm.
And Costco has one of the highest dwell times in retail. You know, I think it's something like $1.40 per minute in store. You know, so to come up with that marketing, that mechanism where the person who is disinterested in shopping can go cheaply get a hot dog and a drink, pass the time, which then gives the interested shopper of the couple, you decide, you assign your genders however you want, but then, I mean, that then gives the shopper more time, which overall increases the amount of time they're in the store, which then increases revenue because it's like $1.43 per minute in Costco. I mean, it's brilliant. I love it.
Absolutely.
We got the Louis cameo finally.
Yeah, he won't jump on my
time.
lap. He only wants to jump on the desk.
Gotcha.
Deal Hunter, talking about Costco, do you need a business account to flip from Costco to Amazon? Technically, no. A regular Costco account should work, and it comes to invoice that you may need a business account for. I'm not 100% sure. I would imagine they would give you an invoice if you went to the service desk. But honestly, having the business account is worth the money. You can go in like an hour or two earlier. You can go to the business center. It's worth having that one. Plus, I think we get 5% back or something every year. I don't know. My wife just spent it today. It was $122 in cash back from the past year that she spent today at Costco. So Carlos, what metrics do you require from your VAs? Not a lot. I guess I'm not 100% sure of the question here. Do you mean what do I require when it comes to sourcing? Like, do they have a minimum ROI and a minimum profit? Or are we talking number of leads per day, etc.? Maybe I answer all of these questions. So uh, now I am typically of the mindset that having a 30% ROI and a $3 minimum profit is for the birds, because there are reasons not to do that. Okay, there are reasons to buy an item that is 10% ROI and a $1 profit. There are reasons not to buy something that is a 30% ROI and a $3 profit. There are reasons where it should be a 50% ROI and a $7 or more profit. However, when it comes to offshore employees or virtual assistants or team members, whatever you want to call them, I do think that you have to have some minimums that they need to hit, because they're not necessarily going to understand the nuance that you do. And they're not going to care as much as you do. And that's just, I say this, having a team, and I appreciate them and things like that. It's just the way it is. No one is going to care about your business as much as you are. So yes, you do need to have some metrics in place for them. For mine, it is a 30% ROI and a $3 profit. That way, if they do some of the calculations wrong and it's a 25% ROI or a 20% ROI, or they forget to add in what I tell them to add in for inbound hazmat shipping, then there's a little bit of a buffer there. Okay. So that's what I do for them. Now, how many leads per day? Typically, I'm looking for 10 per day from my team members. I don't really have a problem unless it gets under 5 habitually. And then we need to have a talk and, hey, what's going on? Is there something holding you back from hitting more? That kind of stuff. And then when it comes to hours worked, I don't care. I don't care how many hours you worked. I don't care what time of day you work. I don't care if you work 3 days or 5 days or 7 days. We set a salary, and as long as you can perform, then we're good to go.
Yeah, it's there are a bunch of good reasons to keep it wide open. They're also not going to find the same codes that I can find. So I'd rather, it's the same thing when we talk about, if you're using something like tactical arbitrage or Nepeto or something like that, keeping your filters wide open, because I'd rather see it and then try to build a little extra profit or something, or reduce the buy cost from there, and reject it myself than have a VA who, let's be honest, they're not going to replicate your skill level. At best 50-75%, the best VA ever, would be able to do what we do. So I'd rather have the final say and rather cast a wide net.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as far as my metrics are a little bit different. I use my lead list metric just because that's to keep it standard across the board. $5 profit, 30% ROI. However, they are allowed to break one of the 3 rules that I set up: $5 profit, 30% ROI. I might have to change this because it's wonky now, but it used to be 15 Keepa drops a month on average. No idea what's going on there, but they can break one of those 3 and still put it on the sheet. And then I put in, I need at least 1 lead per hour worked, is basically how I set it up. So they work 8-hour days. So I need at least 8 leads on there, just kind of keep them honest. The metric, I have a scoring system. I think I've talked about this before, but they put it out, they put all the leads on the spreadsheet, and they combine it all. I look at the spreadsheet, and as I review them, if it hits all 3 metrics and I confirm it in my review, that gets marked as a yes. If it misses, but it has some redeeming qualities, like it's has 2 of the 3, and they put it on there, and I confirm that, and it's like, well, it's under $5 profit, but it hit the other 2 metrics, that becomes a maybe. And then obviously the junk is junk. Those are no's. I assign 1 point for every yes, a 1/4 point for every maybe, and 0 for no's. And then after my evaluation is done, they're required to score 8 points every week as a quota.
I wanted to jump back for just a second, Jerry. I was a little wrong when it came to state of Washington. State of Washington enacted a sales tax on advertising services. So if you are in the state of Washington and you were to run an Amazon PPC and make sales on that PPC in the state of Washington, or maybe it's just the entire PPC itself, you have to pay sales tax on the PPC. It sounds incredibly convoluted because it is. Okay. And Nate, I see you. I don't know if you're talking to Chris Rasick or myself, but thank you for telling us we're pretty. Yes, I have lost a little bit of weight, almost 70 pounds. Out of a bit of a plateau right now, and cursing myself in the mirror and when I hop on the scale, but we'll push through. All right, Con, can new sellers succeed in the current market? The simple answer is yes. Okay. So here's the thing. A lot of sellers, especially those who've been around for a while, will say, there's so many better things to do. Well, I tend to disagree. Okay. I don't think that any particular opportunity is necessarily better than another. Now, some could be easier. Like, is getting into the Amazon influencer program, would that be an easier bet right now? Sure. It would. You don't have to pay any money out of pocket. But I'll tell you what, a lot of the people who I know who have gotten into it and gone all in find themselves with their accounts being reviewed pretty quickly for one reason or another. And so there's the holdup there. The other holdup with a program like that is, you can't make a ton. Like, there's only so far it will scale. Could you get it to 10,000, maybe 20,000 a month in payout? Probably, with 10 or 20,000 videos made. And do you have the intestinal fortitude it takes to make 20,000 videos? I think it takes a special person to do that kind of thing. Could you do TikTok influencer program? Sure, absolutely. You can do the TikTok affiliate program, but again, are you a content creator? Are you comfortable being on camera? Are you comfortable talking about stuff? That's the other question, you know. Well, what about starting a home services business instead? Well, that's a whole different kind of hard. Now you have to go out and find your own customers rather than Amazon bringing them to you. And you just happen to look at some numbers on a page to figure out whether you should sell it. So my opinion is, can new six sellers succeed in the current market? Yes. And we have proof of that. We have new sellers who are growing on the marketplace. Is this business simple? Yeah, this business is pretty simple. Buy low, sell for higher, and take the delta in between. Is it easy? No. But business and easy don't belong in the same sentence. And everything that is quote unquote easy becomes saturated pretty quickly. That's just the way of markets. That's the way of money making opportunities. People see what they think is a blue ocean and they dive in and it becomes red pretty quickly. The thing about selling on Amazon is it's not just about is this viable right now, but is it viable long term? And that is what I am more bullish on. I believe that selling things on the internet, whether it is Amazon or eBay, maybe not some other marketplaces anymore, but is it viable long term? Could you do this for the next 3 to 5 years to make money that changes your life? And what I mean by that is that $500 a month extra will change your life. $1,000 a month extra will really change your life. And in 3 to 5 years, could you have quit your job kind of money if you do things properly? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that there are a lot of businesses that would allow for that when you start it as a side business. Could you do it eventually with a lawn care business, with some sort of home services business? Yeah, absolutely. But if you can only spend the weekends on those businesses, I think it's going to take a lot longer than selling on Amazon would take to create like replace your job kind of money.
Con, the answer to your question is 100% without a doubt, yes. My question to you is, where did your question come from? Okay. And I don't want to read too much into it. But if there's no pretense behind it, if there's nothing, if it's just like, hey, can new sellers succeed? The fact you use current market is what makes me question the origin of your question. Because we talked about a lot lately about minding your inputs. And if you say current market based on some negativity that you're reading in the space and maybe social media and other sellers that are already selling, or longtime sellers who are disgruntled now because there's just been change after change after change. That's, I'm worried about what that input is, right? But the answer to your question is 100% yes. And I think, especially in this current market, new sellers have an incredible advantage right now. The fact that you don't know any different, right? So any negativity from someone who is on the platform already is irrelevant to you. Never affected you because you weren't in the game, right? Chris has been doing this for 13 years, right? And it would take forever for us to go through all of the changes, right? There have been, I don't want to speak for you, Chris, but there's been dozens, if not pushing 100 changes to how you can sell on Amazon since he started, right? And it depends on what kind of person you're going to be. Are you going to fall in with the negativity that you might have read that makes you wonder, well, with the current market, is it, if you're doubting it already based on negativity that you're reading, you may fall into the trap of being one of those new sellers that constantly shows up in social medias and groups and stuff like that and has a new thing that sucks every single day, right? There's a lot of those types of sellers. Some are new, some are existing.
Some don't leave the space, even though it sucks so bad.
Yeah, some are miserable and just won't go away, and we gotta we gotta coexist with them. But if you mind your inputs, there's a whole lot that's awesome, right? And if you're bullish on Amazon over a long term, which me and Chris are, we've been doing this show twice a week now for probably close to a year. It was once a week before that. We've been doing the show for years. We've got almost 100 episodes of the podcast. We are constantly bringing news, breaking news of what Amazon is doing to continue its domination. They are never out of ideas, right? The stock is not doing poorly, right? Like Amazon is a $1 trillion company and they are continuing to kick ass. Okay. And as long as they continue to absolutely dominate, we can ride their coattails, right? Because they're not getting rid of third-party sellers. They're not killing arbitrageurs. None of that is true. That's jaded people who probably did something wrong through faults of their own, who are taking their ball and going home because they got caught most of the time. So a new seller coming in who minds their inputs has a huge advantage, especially a new seller that's doing it part-time. If you have a full-time job and you've got your bills paid, you can get your reps in. You can make all your whatever your personal set of mistakes are going to be. Everybody has them. Don't beat yourself up over it. But you can get those mistakes out of the way with a safety net of your full-time job. Get your reps, build your revenue, get your experience, and then drop the golden handcuffs and do this and take full control of your time as an experienced seller and do it full time. You could do that all day. You could do it all day. It just depends on what kind of new seller you decide you're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, speaking of minding your inputs, which I love that idea. I think you're spot on. I think the other thing is that a lot of people, especially when this kind of question gets asked, can I make $1 million? Okay. And that's kind of the underlying question that doesn't necessarily get asked. The answer is yes, you could also make $1 million. But I think that if we go a little bit further, Chris mentioned owning your time. I think that's what a lot of us are here for, is being able to own our time. So this coming Wednesday, my son has a volleyball game at 4:00 in the afternoon or 4:30 or something like that. Like, I don't have to ask anybody to get off work a half an hour early. Like, I just get to go, and I don't miss volleyball games, period. And I won't miss basketball games during basketball season. And if he chooses to play baseball, I will not miss baseball games either. So I think that's the important thing. And I bring that up because a lot of people say, well, can I make $1 million? Yeah, but you can probably make what it takes to retire yourself much easier, because you're probably not making $1 million in your current situation. So when we're more realistic, and I want you to make $1 million, don't get me wrong. I want you to have all the money in the world. But when we get much more realistic and be like, oh, I only need to replace $64,000 a year in income. Well, that number becomes a whole lot more realistic and easier to hit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I didn't realize we were 90 minutes into this, guys. Let's run through some of these questions here. Deal Hunter, never worked with a VA. Do you report them as an employee to the payroll and to the IRS, or just pay them somehow and report that as an expense? 90% of the time, it is just a line item in your expenses, and no need to, take any payroll taxes or anything like that. In our case, it's going to be 99% of the time. Carlos, for ungating, if they ask for 400 units, can it be 100 of one item, 100 of another, etc., as long as it combines to 400 of that brand and they're listed on Amazon? The answer is yes. That is okay. But if we dive a little deeper on that, you have to remember you really need to make this as simple for the person on the other end as possible. Number one, it's going to be a lot of bots. Okay. So you need to make it simple for the bot. And if it does make it to a person, you also have to understand that that person may not be trained very well. And the incentive for them is a no. So you need to make it so easy that you overcome that no, that they're incentivized for. Shannon, I have not seen the email. Will the replay be in OAC Plus? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So what will happen after the 6-hour live, I will download it and I will upload it directly into the WAP course area, and then it will go in the replays. It'll probably be up the next day. Deal Hunter, when flipping Amazon to Amazon, you don't get invoices with a regular non-prime account. Do we need a business account to get ungated, or the email confirmation is sufficient? Also, I'm guessing to avoid third party. You do not need a business account to get ungated. A regular non-prime account will do the trick. I personally would probably not buy from third parties to get ungated. However, there is evidence that it does work. So it's kind of do your own, whatever you think is there, or whatever you think is best. Jerry, are we allowed to add our sourcing VA to our OAC Plus membership? We will allow you to add one person who is on your team as an employee or a business partner to OAC Plus. Yes, we have to do it on a 1-by-1 basis to make sure that it is not abused, because unfortunately there has been abuse in the past. So you just have to reach out to me and I make a special link, and then yes. One, please explain to me how this OAC Plus offer is not a shut up and please take my money. That was the goal, to be quite frank. That was the goal. Speaking as a cheapskate, every serious chess seller should be subscribed at least until they have watched all the courses. Seriously underpriced for all that required learning. I appreciate that, Luke. Let's see. I joined OAC Plus a few weeks ago. What do I get already included, and what should I add as an add-on separately to make it even sweeter? I mean, the only I think you already have Flip Alert. So if you have Flip Alert along with OAC Plus, I don't, because you've already got Storefront Stalker Pro. I would imagine you have some sort of calculator. You've got Keepa. I don't know of much of anything else. I mean, unless you need maybe Boxem or something like that to be able to send inbound shipments and kind of keep track of your inventory. Honestly, you don't need a whole lot these days to run an Amazon, but you should be able to run an Amazon business for less than $300 a month, unless you want to get a really good repricer, but there are also great repricers for less than $100 a month. Oh, wow. Jerry, this is, that's beautiful. I appreciate that. I'm going to screen grab that, to be quite frank. Thank you. Jason, what other tech can be used? And it cut off. Sorry, man. See if it pops up a little further down. If Amazon blocks a listing and you have a trademark, can you brand it and open a new listing? This is a very specific question that I'm not sure I know the answer to. Because I'd have to know like why they're blocking the listing in the first place. And if you do have the if you have the trademark for that particular item, then you should be able to create a listing and get brand registered and all of that. But if you just have a trademark for it's just me and you're trying to get a new I'm drinking a Pepsi Zero, a new Pepsi Zero listing up, then no, you can't do that. That's not a workaround. Deal Hunter, do you pay VAs per lead or per hour? I pay per hour, technically. Really ends up being more of a salary. I do have some friends that pay per diem, and they do a great job paying per diem. But I think that the per hour lets them know that, listen, this job is not going anywhere. Yeah, we do have some criteria that we need you to meet, but I want them to feel um, safe in the fact that they're, not going to not be able to pay their rent 1 month because they couldn't find enough leads, due to market conditions. I don't, if that makes sense. Like there might be a month where you have a dry streak. And if that would happen to me, that could happen to my VAs as well. Yeah, that's on me to take that risk in my business. Like that's just the risk you take, is having a dry spell. But I cannot expect in good conscience employees or team members to worry about those same things.
Yeah, I think I mean, like I explained earlier, I have quotas and I have production metrics, and that's to keep them honest, to keep them moving, to just keep the motor running essentially. And honestly, if they have trouble meeting those quotas, that probably falls more on me as their trainer than it does on them as far as the execution goes, right? I think if you incentivize per lead, in some sense, you are potentially inviting methods that you wouldn't want your VAs to employ potentially. You don't want them to have, be running short on money, or, like, oh, I'm short on the rent this month, or I have a hospital bill or something like that. I'm getting paid per lead. So let me call some of my friends and I'll get some of their leads. And they have VAs that work for a big lead list, so you're getting secondhand leads, hand-me-down leads, or they could just, you don't want them to look at methods that are questionable to try to juice their compensation.
Shannon, have you heard about any changes to any fees for 2026? Not yet. Those, when they make those kind of fee changes, those typically are announced in November and December. Fingers crossed they're staying the same. I got a feeling that they're going to stay the same for another year. I think Amazon knows, because they're not stupid. We may think that the people in the ivory tower are stupid, but they're not. And I think that they see what's happening in the marketplace for sellers. And I've got a feeling that they're going to kind of keep the status quo for now. Yeah, it would just make sense with trying to take market share from Walmart, with Walmart having as many issues as they're having with their marketplace after substantial growth, and Amazon being able to just be like, hey, you know what? Let's just keep everything the same for one more year. And then we may not have to worry about them as a real competitor. I've got a feeling. JP, I've had a couple of FBA returns that got reimbursed. What are the following steps that a seller has to do? If it could be resold, I understand they put it back into circulation, but if it's opened, well, if it's opened, then they'll send it back to you as customer damaged. And if it's some sort of switcheroo or it's, not sent, if it meets certain criteria, you could open a case and try to get reimbursed. But in some cases, you're not going to be, and you're going to need to try to recoup whatever you can, maybe on another marketplace or something like that. Lounger, what is the status of your Q4 group? It is rolling. Yeah, it's rolling right now. We've had 3 days worth of leads. I've shared. I have not looked at the other guys' leads. I'm going to just guess that they're on par with what I'm doing. And in the 3 days, I've shared 13, 26, 36 leads for a potential profit of about $1,800 in total so far if you buy 5 of each unit. If I'm getting my numbers right. And I'm guessing that the other guys have done around the same. So yeah, we're rolling. All right. Well, guys, listen, I'm going to make one more altar call, if you will. If you are interested in joining OAC Plus, now's the time. If you're on my email list, check your email. I sent out a good one this morning. I'll be sending it out again tomorrow night, that video, because it is, I know it's private on my YouTube channel, but the link has gone out to a lot of people, and it's gotten less than 200 views so far, which is criminally underwatched. I will be taking that video down, and it will be an OAC Plus exclusive video only. So go check your email for that, or shoot me a message if you want me to send it over to you. I'll be happy to. And in the description of the video I sent out is a way to join OAC Plus for a free trial and 40% off going forward, and be able to get access to Chris's live sourcing session on Monday, the 6-hour source-a-thon on Tuesday, the new Rabbit Trail Challenge on Thursday for our coaching session, and everything else in between. So we hope to see you guys there. Chris, thanks for hanging out today, man. This went much longer than I expected today.
Those are some of my favorite shows, when we actually have the conversation going and we're able to stretch out a little bit. I enjoy these shows. So
me too.
Happy to be here.
All right, guys, that's it. We'll see some of you tomorrow at 9 p.m. To kick off live sourcing with Chris. Have a great day, everybody.